Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have The Boy Who Talked to Badgers. Uh, this is a 1975 film. It was really part of the Wonderful World of Disney, shown in two parts. They did a number of two-parters over the years, um, and it's about an hour and 20 minutes long all together. And it's I guess around the turn of the century, 19th to 20th century story about a boy living in the wilderness with his family. I say wilderness. It's or they have a cat. They have a house with a farm, as maybe a lot of more Western people did back in the day. Uh, it's mom and dad and big brother and Benji, who is the boy who talks to badgers. Why does he talk to badgers? Well, badgers aren't special necessarily. He talks to all the animals. They do not talk back, unlike the situation with Doctor Doolittle. Um, there's no mystical or scientific or fantasy element in this movie whatsoever. It's just a boy who gets along with animals a whole lot better than he does with humans. And he spends as much time as possible out on the hillsides and the streams and everything else, just hanging out with animals, and they don't mind him. They uh, the hawk lands on his arm. The badger nestles up to him. Of course, he usually has food, so he's earned their trust. And the story is narrated throughout, talking as if Benji was talking about his young life and his experience with a certain badger um, that he befriended. Well, to me, the whole point of him talking to animals just was an excuse to show that he was a little bit weird. He was trying to put off having to go to school, proper school, for many years because he didn't really get along with other people beyond his family. And we see that in these days with certain people dealing with certain things, emotional or social uh, issues. But in this case, you could pretty much live out in the middle of nowhere, and it's still, I guess, weird. It's not normal that you're just hanging out with animals all the time. In this case, the whole talking animals thing is sort of a side piece, a side element to the story. It's really more about him getting lost and pulled away uh, by a raging river, and then trying to survive while his family looks for him. That's the main central plot of the entire movie. He finds the badger. They get the badger helps feed him. It's a sort of little symbiotic relationship they have. There's one of the guys that's helping to find him is actually a trapper his dad hired early on in the film to get rid of varmints and such, uh, even badgers, which they knew were around the area, stealing, you know, eating other animals like chickens or something. Well, um, this guy is pretty much a jerk through most of the film. Uh, when mom's trying to hold out hope that Benji is alive, this guy he just keeps telling stories about how it's unlikely, it's not going to work out. He gives them no hope. By the way, his name is Robert Donner. He, from the looks of it, he was a staple in 1970s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s and beyond. Character actor who's been in just a ton of stuff, including some major films and a lot of TV. If you see him, when you see him, that he's the trapper, and you're around my age, you'll recognize him. But among the rest of the cast, I really don't recognize anybody else. The weird thing is that the one I recognize the most is the one you don't see. And it's the voice of Benji as an adult talking about his life. And it only I recognized the name, and I was like, where do I know the name from? Because I didn't click on, I didn't research him. I just figured he's a narrator. I'm like, Denver Pyle. Where do people my age understand where that name comes from? Well, once I saw his face, he does appear at the end of the movie. So if you're worried about Benji dying at any point, obviously he's narrating the whole thing, so he has to live talking about his youth. You see his face, and it's Uncle Jesse from the Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, he doesn't have a southern accent. He just doesn't have overalls on. He is he's basically he's on the verge, I think, of about to be cast in Dukes of Hazzard at this point. I can't remember what year Dukes of Hazzard started, but I'll look. But he he died a little while ago. But yeah, anyway, Denver Pyle, Uncle Jesse. There's no reason to go into all that detail. We know if you don't know who Dukes of Hazzard is, if you don't know who Denver Pyle, then it's not worth going down that rabbit hole. But to me, that was the most famous person in this entire thing. I didn't recognize anybody else. But his dad is square-jawed, manly man who oversees his family, doesn't try to show much emotion, and he's desperate to find his son, but he's also has to put off this strong face for everybody else. And his brother, his older brother, who's like his best friend and is very supportive, he does everything he can to help. But yeah, and mom, of course, is just heartbroken, and she believes more than anything that her son is alive, despite the evidence that starts piling up that he may not be. And how does he survive? And does everybody survive? That's the question. Again, it's a 1975 movie about the turn of the century, way back. So if you like the old Western types thing, there's no cowboys really. There's a bunch of guys on horses, and they're hunting for a lost boy, but there's no shootouts. There is a shootout. There is at least one guns drawn situation in this. So yeah, if you like these old time Western type stories about the wilderness, about roughing it in the olden days, this might be for you. It's not something that I think I'd ever watch again personally. It's not like anybody gives a bad performance. It's well paced, and it fills its 1.5 hours ably, but it's not like something I'm like, oh, I'm blown away. I'm not blown away by it, but it's a nice wholesome story. It does warn you that there might be some elements that don't stand up to time, culturally. There are Indians, Native Americans, who are featured in this, and they got names like Running Bear or something, just they do in reality, but still it's the idea that they're sort of treated as a second-class savage culture as well. It's probably the way things were. I have no idea. I'm not educated enough in that sense, so I'm not about to talk about what I do and don't know, and what is right and what is wrong. So anyway, if you find something offensive in this, well, they warned you. Other than that, this is just a neat little movie that kids back in that day would enjoy, because they like to think about how they could live out in the wilderness and talk to the animals, and that would just be kind of cool. But these days, I think most kids would just watch a movie about being in a video game, maybe. I don't know. Or in a galaxy far, far away like me. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
678.
678. 678. Easy number. All right. We're doing more documentary stuff. I didn't realize just how many reds there? That's a lot of reds. That's a lot of documentaries around this section. A lot of wild this and wild that, but we're going to get white wilderness. 678 is white wilderness. I'm guessing it's going to be wintry. Maybe there's wolves. I don't know. Bears. It's a white wilderness. So, yeah. That's what we're going to be watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with White Wilderness. Bye. Well, it looks like there is no White Wilderness. It was listed as a documentary, but it's an old Walt Disney type film. a nature type thing, but I researched it not just here, but I looked it up online and found out this thing was removed way back in January. So I don't know. I guess we have to pick another number. All right. Well, so there's no White Wilderness. If it comes back, we'll add it back to the list. But for now, it's not on Disney Plus, even though it's a Disney thing.
546.
546. Well, we're in the 500s. That's in the thes. 546. 546. Okay, it's a movie, and it sounds familiar to me. It's a White Wilderness. Well, we're going color coded again. This one is The Big Green. I don't know what it is, but we'll find out. The Big Green. It's a movie. That's what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Once again, I'll see you back here tomorrow.